Hello, everyone. I hope this week has been well for you and not too stressful. To start off, just to check in with everything, how I've been doing. This week was a little stressful for me because I had a couple exams that I had to prepare for, so that was kind of, So that was a bit stressful overall. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. Just still been spending time with my family. I actually finally got cleared to work out, so I'm pretty excited to start that up next week. Get back in the gym, do the usual that I was doing before. But other than that, everything was basically pretty much the same. So now to jump into the composer report. So sorry if I'm looking back and forth. I have my notes right here. So to start off for this one, I decided to choose William Grant Still. His name kind of sounded a little bit familiar to me, like I had heard about him before. And as soon as I started to go through everything he did, I did remember who exactly he was. So to start off with a little bit about him, he was born in Woodsville, Mississippi on May 11th in 1895. And he did end up dying in Los Angeles on December 3rd in 1978. He was a composer and an arranger as well. And in his early years, he did study the violin, and he also learned a bit about the oboe and the cello. So that was pretty interesting to learn about. And he also did go to Wilberforce University in 1911. And he was very, very set on being a composer. He knew that is exactly what he wanted to do, and he wanted to focus on concert music and also opera music as well. So for a couple of years after that, he did get married, and he had a bit of difficulty kind of finding work, and he wasn't really making a lot with the band that he was playing with and stuff like that. So he did jump around a bit, but he ended up finding work with work at Handy's Hesitating Blues. And eventually, in the middle of working with Handy, he did end up going back to college. So he went to Oberlin College, and that's where he studied theory and also studied counterpoint. And after that, he did have a little interruption with his studies because he did go to the Navy during World War II. So that did happen. He went for a year, and after coming back from the Navy, he did end up going back to work for Handy's, and he worked in New York with him until 1934. So after that, as time went on, he did end up becoming a very successful and famous arranger for different theaters around the city, and also dealing with early radio. He was very famous with that. He also was a music director for Black Swan Records, and he was an arranger for Lucky Roberts and some other many people. The list honestly went on and on with the number of people that he actually was an arranger for. One of the most important teachers that he had throughout his years of learning and everything like that was Varse. I'm gonna just go with Varse. So yeah, that was one of the people who actually helped him a lot and kind of helped him fit into what he wanted to do as a composer, and very much encouraged him to basically do whatever felt right for him. So that was pretty cool to hear, like, that he had that one person that really pushed him to become the composer that he was. And also, in 1931, he was able to premiere one of the first African-American symphonies at the Rochester PO. And also, his Troubled Island production by the City Opera was one of the peaks of his career. So that really boosted him as a composer and allowed for many others to kind of hear what he was all about and see the different music that he was bringing to the table. So that was pretty cool. He actually started off as being a composer for spirituals, but he then kind of pushed it to the side and rejected it because it was kind of the norm for everybody, and he wanted to be different. So that's when he went into the blues. So there was honestly a lot of information on him. I don't want to make the video too long, so I'm going to leave it at the kind of key points that I found. So those were very interesting, and I thought, a lot of the stuff that he was able to do as a composer and how he started off, it was just wow, it really was a shocker. So for the piece that I decided to choose was his Symphony No. 3 piece. They did call it the Sunday Symphony, so I assumed it had to do with probably like church and stuff like that. That's what I kind of thought about it, since it was Sunday Symphony. But the piece starts off very cheerful. It kind of like was upbeat, and it kind of makes you feel happy, like puts you in like a good mood, if that makes sense. And the tempo is very consistent, upbeat, uplifting, you know, gives you that relaxed feel, but relaxed yet like, how do I say it, like jittery, giddy, something like that, like around that area of words. Throughout the piece, you kind of hear like a triangle being hit, like a really, really light triangle. And that kind of gives the piece like a little bit of a dazzle, because it's different. Like a lot of the pieces before, we don't really hear that a lot. So that was pretty cool to me. I really thought that was interesting. The pitch was pretty medium for the whole symphony. It wasn't too high, too low. Towards the middle, it does, the pitch does become very low, and it becomes kind of like a minor scale, because it gets kind of sad, because it goes from major scale to minor. And you kind of, even though it's sad, it's like relaxing, like it puts you in a calm state, and it's still like not too upbeat, but just like right where it needs to be, if that makes sense. The piece does have a lot of moments where it ascends, where the music does start somewhere and then it goes higher and then it comes back down. Like there are times where it ascends and descends, but overall everything fit perfectly the way it was supposed to. It was a bit more different than the pieces that we have listened to, just because of the fact that it had different tones that made the piece what it needed to be, and others kind of focused on how to explain it, like one specific tone. This one kind of had all over the place, and it was just different to me, if that makes sense. But other than that, I really enjoyed listening to this piece, and it kind of made me excited to see what else he has, which I'm probably going to check that out pretty soon to see what other pieces he did write. But other than that, I thank you guys for watching my video. I'm sorry if it's a little too long, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see your guys' videos as well.